some people don't understand why stained cabinets are so much more expensive. Can you kind of tell us about all the processes and the materials and labor on that?
Well, I mean, I would say, and you can certainly chime in here too, I would think first is material cost. I mean, by nature, wood, hardwood, solid wood is more expensive than like the vinyl cabinet that would be between your MDF board and your and the vinyl wrap. Availability of some of the species, the volume. When we, like we said, when we purchase our door material, we purchase it in truckloads at a time. Our vinyl, we come in how many 100 feet? How many?
Yeah, it's 250 meter rolls.
Meter rolls of vinyl. So we order that in such volume, and because again our market demands that, we get better pricing on that, whereas opposed to buying a maple or cherry or especially hickory pine or something like that. And I know you're probably better
that's
than them.
related to the finishing process. You've
True.
got an application of spraying the glue, a 4-minute cycle, 12 to 14 panels completely finished to go. If you've got a wood door, you've got to prime it. If you're painting it, prime it twice, sand it, 2 coats of top coat. If you're going a step further with glaze, then you've got to do the glazing application, and you've got the curing time delay in all these processes, which adds to time and labor and cost. But then if you glaze it, then you have to do an additional 2 clear coats of top coat.
And not only that, especially when you get into glazing, you want one person to glaze the entire job because it's depending on the weight of your hand and how heavy it is and stuff. You want that job to look as uniform as possible, so you have limited.
Another aspect of that too, Mark, you're talking about just in the process of making the door itself. The typical vinyl door, there's one part to that door. There's one panel with a route profile, panel profile in it. This door right here is a 5-piece door. You got 5 pieces of this door that's got to come together. You got the panel, which typically those panels have to be cut oversized and glued together. And then you have to do the work on that panel. And then also you got your 4 stiles and rails. So there's a lot more process going into just making the door as well.
It sounds like probably the stained cabinets, really, you're not charging enough for those.
We probably feel that way from time to time.
But just the whole process on wood takes a lot longer.
But we have, I don't know, 5 or 6 people, constant in finishing the application. So, they're good at scheduling that. Get those doors primed where people, then you would send sanders back to sand it while they're doing other things. We try to keep that cost down to be able to offer a spectrum of product to meet the schedules. And then just some things is just very cost effective, and it's revealed in the final cost cabinet.
And we try, like, anytime Keystone has a new project, like a Jones Mill or a Whispering Pine, where that particular market demands more stained cabinets or more specialty finishes or combinations of finishes, we go the extra step to try to see what we can do to provide that quality, that look, that finish, that appeal, that character as affordably as we can. And we consider, first we look to what we can do in-house with our in-house doors. Sometimes we outsource those doors, and they're generally comparable in price, but just depending on time frame and that sort of thing. So, we try to do what we can to offer you the best product, the best features, the best bells and whistles, and try to keep that price at a point that we can.
But we also do paint applications on the MDF door. Those right there that have the glaze on them, those are painted, and then we've done the process of, but yeah, we have painted that cabinet just white. Definitely before the vinyl application that we do was implemented, but the issue there is water. If you get a chip on that and it's not addressed over a period of time, that water will be absorbed into the board. It'll start swelling, and the more it swells, the more it chips the paint, and then you've got an unsightly cabinet door, particularly under the kitchen sink. That was one of the reasons we investigated the vinyl, because white was the cabinet of the man. We were painting them, and we were seeing those issues, and we thought the vinyl was the cure for that, because that was our biggest issue with just the painted India door. The wood door is going to do the same. Because the wood door, in the 5-piece, you have that crack at the bottom, and if that water is let accumulate there, then that door is going to start swelling and being unsightly.
Is the wood veneer stain that we offer our customers, is that more durable than an actual solid wood door?
They're about the same. There's not the one good thing about the veneer door and versus a 5-panel solid wood door is the door's like the house. Through the seasons, wood expands and contracts. So what you end up with sometimes on a stained door like that, when the humidity and all in the house changes, it actually develop a crack right there. And I've also seen the panel shrink a little bit, and right now it's finished and it looks good, but once that panel shrinks a little bit, you'll have a line right there. So that's a couple things. Now we've done some things to try to get around that. All our doors, this particular one doesn't, but we do a little groove. We groove that panel right there, or that style, so that when we stain it, some stain can go up in there, and try to head off some of that, because naturally it'll happen. And two, when you do a solid stained cabinet, solid woods like that, it's better to wait later on in the process to put it in the house. It's closer to, when the heat and air is about to be put on, because if you get it out there and it's real humid or real hot and rainy the day you install them, matter of fact, I'll give you an example. We did a house over in Edgefield County. Put the cabinets in, everything looks great. It was in a basement. 2 days later, none of the doors in the house would shut. None of them. If it was a pair of doors, they were overlapping by 1/8 inch. Since then, they've got the heat back on, everything's dried out, they're back to normal and look great. So that's for scheduling issues, it works a little better not doing that, because we would need to wait later in the process in order to put them in.
And speaking of that, totally off that, but you're talking about the heat coming on, as the seasons change, and you experience this with other aspects of the home, anywhere that there's caulking or anything like that. And we oftentimes get calls where the laminate countertops have been caulked to the wall and it's cracked. Well, that's just a natural characteristic of the product. Even if you put granite countertops there and there's caulking there, that's going to happen because those seasons change. It's going to contract in the wintertime and expand in the summertime. That's just the nature of that product. So that's not that there's a defect or that there's anything wrong with that. It's just from time to time they will require that the homeowner, as part of their normal maintenance, to repair that caulking.
Yeah, we did have a question from
Yeah,
Judy
that's what I
out
was
here.
wondering.
She was asking, and I don't necessarily think it's in the scope of cabinetry, because it has to do with framing and that sort of thing. But she had an issue in Ashbrook. One of the homeowners had the cabinet separating from the wall. I'm not sure how much it was. Probably, when we saw that at the Ashbrook model home when it was first put in. But it was, and we caulked it up and it stopped moving. But is there, and Mark, you might be able to shed some light on this. If you do have that cabinet coming off of the wall, 1/2 inch, that sort of thing, what's the defect or remedy there?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I don't know. I think you have to look at those individually and find out exactly what's happening.
Yeah, that's such an uncommon thing.
Well, it's like any other aspect of the house. If, say for example, especially this year, look how rainy it's been. If they framed that house and it was rainy during that time, they get everything sheetrocked and everything's starting to close in, as the heat and all's on the house, it starts pulling the moisture out of the 2x4s and the walls, and they're just like the door I was talking about. It's a wood. It begins to shrink a little bit. What I think the biggest fear is consumer thinks their cabinets are falling off the wall. And a lot of times what it is, it's just the walls are settling and everything, just like a house goes through, and you recaulk it, and 9 times out of 10 you're good.
I have a place in my house in London. Every winter I got a crack like that. Every summer it's as it can be. So you've got something going on with a ceiling joist that the humidity is doing its thing. I don't know. It does it every year.
And I would say in a situation like that, if one of your builders have already evaluated the situation and can't conclude what's causing that, and that you feel like it might be an issue related to cabinetry, we would take a look at it. And even if it's not something that's related to our product, we might can offer some suggestion how you can remedy that or something like that. But isolated situations, I would agree.